How's it going, guys? It's Marcus, and I have returned to making content on this channel again. This month and a half or so break was definitely needed, and after taking this time off, learning about myself, reflecting on my life in general, my priorities, etc., I feel like that I'm in the right mental state to be making content on here again and won't allow stress to consume me on that level again. So for those of you who still stuck around, thank you so much for being patient, and for any new viewers, welcome to VGMarkis. Kicking off this return to my channel by talking about Blue Diamond and just how strong she is. So, Blue Diamond being a gem lifeform makes her one of the strongest creatures in the universe by default. Of course, there is a chance that there are stronger aliens out there, but with the current knowledge of the Steven universe, gems are the strongest creatures in my eyes due to how many planets they've conquered, their incredible raw physical strength, the special abilities some of them get, like the ability to emit extreme heat like a ruby, or hydrokinesis like a lapis, amongst other powers. For starters, let's go with Blue Diamond's physical strength. Here there isn't really much to go off of, since a lot of Blue Diamond's powers in a fight come from her unique abilities as a diamond gem, but we've seen she's capable of carrying entire people in the palm of her hand or in her fist, like when she took Greg to space with her for him to be placed into the human zoo, and when she held Steven crying with joy because quote-unquote Pink Diamond was alive this whole time. She was also shown to be strong enough to break out of Lapis's water chains, which were shown to be strong enough to drag Malachite into the Earth's ocean and keep her from escaping for months. Malachite is a fusion between two incredibly strong gems, Japis and Lasper, and Blue Diamond was over here breaking free from those chains within seconds. Even with little physical strength showings in terms of Blue Diamond, I think it's safe to assume she's definitely physically stronger than the average gem due to just the last accomplishment alone, but her being a diamond and being as tall as she is factors into physical strength too, so. Now as for durability, Blue Diamond is the most durable character that we've seen in the series so far without a question. It would need to take a whole lot just to poof Blue Diamond, let alone shatter her. Her fight versus the Crystal Gem showed she was capable of taking an incredible amount of damage while still seeming unfazed or tired in the slightest. To list everything off here, Lapis threw the entire barn at her from a pretty considerable height, I'd say more than 50 feet in the air for sure, and the barn was going fast enough to the point where the entire building exploded once it made contact with Blue Diamond's body. As for the rest, she got whipped by Amethyst, shot by Pearl's spear, punched by Garnet and Bismuth at the same time, with Garnet using her spiked gauntlets and Bismuth forming her hand into a hammer, Peridot shooting multiple soda cans at her, which I'm sure did the most damage out of any other attack without a doubt, 100%. A second barrage of attacks from everybody except for Lapis and Peridot. Then her own ship fell on top of her after the cluster beat Yellow Diamond ship, and Yellow Diamond ship collided with Blue Diamond ship. All this, and she was still able to get up and stand tall as if nothing happened. No other character in the entire show has taken this much consecutive damage before on screen. Like, nobody. I'm sure Yellow would have around the same durability and White Diamonds would be even higher, but those guys haven't really partaken in any real fights yet. When it comes to Blue Diamond's intelligence, it hasn't really been much of a factor in her, like, fighting strength per se, but rather shows as one of her qualities as a leader. Of course, this could have changed over time, but Blue Diamond had 8 colonies under her control on her mural painting at the Diamond Earth base on the moon. She had the second least amount of colonies under her, right under Pink Diamond having just Earth, but to still have 8 planets under you, that's pretty impressive. It shows she knows her stuff when it comes to properly commanding troops to make sure they're able to colonize at said planet properly. Blue Diamond is pretty considerable range with her fighting too, given how absurdly huge she is. Blue Diamond probably has like a 20-foot vertical. The range on her Sadness wavelength is pretty large, I'd say about a 70 feet circumference or so away from her, because she was about 70 feet away when she used it on the crystal gems and where they were positioned, and they were still affected by it. It could potentially go even further than that, but that's the furthest I've seen it go so far. Her other ranged attack is her Blue Energy Blast that again blasts around 70 to 100 feet or so. I've just been estimating Blue Diamond to be about 50 or so feet tall this whole time, by the way, and the orb creating the blast went fairly high above her head and then began shooting at the ground towards Steven and the squad. As for Blue Diamond's abilities, I already briefly went over 2 of them, but I'll just go more in depth here. Her first ability, which I see as her main ability and kind of fleshes out who she really is as a diamond, is her Sadness wavelength. Blue Diamond releases a wavelength of sadness that causes other gems to collapse from emotional distress, rendering them borderline helpless. This power is only able to affect gems though. I know Connie got affected that second time and reunited, but I believe that was a plot hole since she didn't get affected the first time and Lars didn't get affected when she released the wavelength during Steven's trial. Especially against a close range fighter, this ability is borderline impossible to avoid because of how much ground it covers. However, there does seem to be a way to get around this ability even if you are a gem, and this was demonstrated by Lapis. Lapis continued to stand tall when the wavelength was released, saying she's felt worse pain before, so I guess there is a certain level to the sadness that Blue Diamond emits, like if the gem she's using it on has experienced tons of physical and or mental pain in the past, they won't get affected by the wavelength. Lapis has definitely been through a lot, so I can kind of understand why she'd be the one gem to not be brought down by it. The whole thing is a little tricky though, because the other gems affected by this VGMarkis at the time have definitely been through a lot themselves, so I'm just trying to figure out if the scene was implying Lapis has had it the worst out of anybody. It's just a tad confusing is all. Now back to her second ability, the ability to create a blue tinted orb with her hand that's able to shoot out quick blasts that create explosions when coming into contact with something solid. These blasts were strong enough to have Steven struggling to hold them off with his shield from the get-go until the other crystal gems put their hands on the shield to create more resistance. As for what the blasts do to humans/gems when they come into contact with them is unknown, but hopefully we'll find out what they do at some point, like when they actually come into contact with something. Something living, anyway. Lastly is Blue Diamond's healing powers. It was revealed in Legs from Here to Homeworld that the power of healing is a power all 4 of the diamonds are able to use. The one and only time Blue Diamond used her healing powers is when she, Yellow, and Steven attempted to cure Centipedal, or rather Nephrite, from her corruption. Blue Diamond's healing powers in this scenario allowed Nephrite to speak English again. Before, with only Yellow's power used on Nephrite, it was enough to give her normal physical form back. Steven also implied that Blue and Yellow Diamond's healing powers are stronger than his in this episode as well. Just going off that statement alone, it's possible that Blue Diamond's healing powers have the same exact effects as Steven's, just to a greater degree. Like, she could heal a broken bone from a human if she wanted to, and potentially revive an organic life form as well, just with less effort, I'd say. But Blue might not even know that she has the power to revive somebody, since why would she ever want to revive an organic life form, especially in the past? Pink Diamond and Steven were able to do it because the life forms that they were trying to revive, they loved them very much and they died right before their eyes, so they were able to do it, i.e. Lion and Lars respectively. It's a shame that the healing powers of the other diamonds will probably never really be displayed much more in depth. I'm predicting we won't see the use of Blue or Yellow's healing powers again until White ends up being on board to help cure the corrupted gems on Earth. So when taking all of Blue Diamond's showings into consideration, I'd say by herself she's around small country level, maybe even country level on a good day. Pretty damn impressive, I gotta say. There were some strength characteristics I definitely didn't go over in this video because some of those characteristics are basically impossible to talk about because Blue Diamond just never displayed them even once to mention. But if there is anything that I did miss in terms of the other strength characteristics that could make her stronger or even weaker than I presented in this video, please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you very much. But I think that's going to be it for this video, though. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to leave a like down below if you enjoyed, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.